Funny about that. You know who was asking about you the other day? Who's that? Nobody.
We talking about sports, get ball.
What it do, baby?
Yeah. What it do, you number one podcast listeners? We are back with a brand new edition of Prem Brulee, the number one podcast in your headphones. I'm your host, Premal, and back with me, it's been a minute, my co-host, big bro, big cousin, Roshan has joined me for this.
Yes, sir. Glad to be back.
7-piece Nuggets pack,
Seven-piece Nuggets pack, baby. I'm back. And you already know why I had to do this.
Let's go. You were ready to go.
Yeah.
You started firing them off. So, you number one podcast listeners, you're in for a treat. Let's get this shit rolling, baby.
Yeah, I was sitting in the on deck circle for a minute, and I was letting some new blood take over. You know, drop some heaters, and they loaded the bases, and I'm here to go yard.
Jordan, like, here we go.
There we go.
Or Kyle Tucker this year.
Yeah, let's go 2023 Jordan or 2024 Kyle Tucker. And nobody talk
Amen.
about the Astros record, by the way. Don't leave me alone.
That's for now, man.
Yeah.
It's only May.
Yeah, that's true.
Let us know when we start trying.
Season hasn't started yet.
Anyway, this one's going to be chock full of NBA again because we're in the thick of the NBA playoffs and entering the NBA Finals. So we want to do a little recap of the playoffs and a preview of the NBA Finals. So without further ado, let's hit that yeah fam or nah. You ready, Rosh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah fam or nah. The Boston Celtics had the easiest run to the NBA Finals in recent memory. We'll go with recent memory. I'm not expecting you to recall what happened in the 80s or 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
But just some things to note as you ponder this. The Boston Celtics in the opening round faced the Miami Heat, who were without Jimmy Butler. They then faced the Cleveland Cavaliers, who in the course of the series didn't have Donovan Mitchell in some series clinching games, some very swing games after Donovan Mitchell was playing out of his mind for the Cavs. Also, the Cavs were without Jared Allen, their big man and pretty key piece of their team. Then in the Eastern Conference Finals, they faced the Indiana Pacers, who then ended up losing Tyrese Halliburton, I think, in the last few games of the series. Also worth noting, the other high seeds in the Eastern Conference, so, you know, we're talking about the New York Knicks, the Milwaukee Bucks, all had injuries that impacted their playoff runs.
Yep.
So hence why the Boston Celtics ended up playing I believe is a 6 seed Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, I mean the Pacers don't win that series if Giannis is playing.
Yep. Yeah, so no Giannis. The Bucks also were without Damian Lillard for a few games in that series against Indiana. The Sixers had a banged-up Joel Embiid. So you're looking at some substantial injuries in the Eastern Conference.
For sure.
Also important to consider, the Celtics have been without a key piece of their team. Kristaps Porzingis has been out, so that's worth noting from their end. But yeah, fam or nah, easiest run to the finals, Boston Celtics this year. So I'll go first, then I'll get your answer, Rush. All right, I'm going to go with the nah. And I doubt this surprises you, number one podcast listeners, and some of you tuning in probably know exactly what year I'm going to pull out. The 2015 Golden State Warriors. The one ring we do acknowledge is 2015.
Look, I stay petty, so I don't have to get petty.
They were absolutely lucky. This was pre-Kevin Durant, obviously, the year before the 3-1 comeback by the Cavs. This is the first title by the Warriors. They swept the Pelicans, who had Drew Holiday out. And yes, Drew Holiday's got an even better defender, but he was that dude even then. Then they faced the grit and grind Memphis Grizzlies, who were without Mike Conley, a much younger Mike Conley, and key defender Tony Allen, who would have made a difference on either Steph or Clay.
For sure.
They then faced the Houston Rockets. This was the James Harden Houston Rockets that were, you know, big-time offensive threats. Their one key defensive weapon was Patrick Beverley, who was all NBA defense. He was hurt that series, so no key defender to guard, I would presume, Steph Curry. Then the cherry on top is that they faced the Cleveland Cavaliers, who that year Kevin Love got hurt in their opening round. So he was out all playoffs basically. And in game 1 of the NBA Finals, Kyrie Irving broke his kneecap. So he was out for the end of game 1 throughout the whole series, obviously. So they played LeBron James, and literally the starting lineup featured Timofey Mozgov, Matthew Dellavedova. Those were actual starters in the NBA Finals against
Delly, baby. Matt Delly with the shot, boy.
Yeah. And I think they still managed 2 games out of that series, I think.
It was 2.
That run by the Warriors in 2015 was absurdly lucky.
For sure.
They won it ahead of schedule. That was the one where Andre Iguodala won the Finals MVP. They didn't even know who to give it to.
Petty alert. Petty alert. Petty alert.
So I'm a nod of this. While the Celtics run is extremely easy, they are going to be facing a Mavericks team that is at full health. So we'll see how that pans out. But at the very least, that gives a slight edge to the Warriors. What about you, man?
Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to be your answer. So that's why I let the assist go first, so I could basically say yes, yeah, fam. I do think the Celtics run is easier because they just didn't have to play LeBron this year. They didn't have to play prime LeBron, my glorious Pookie. Overall, I gotta agree with you though. The 2015 Warriors, along with the 2017, 2018 Golden Snake team, they really robbed us of like a definition of a generation by LeBron. So I can't forgive them bitches for that either. So. And I won't.
Petty, right?
Hey, are you calling me petty?
Yeah, you petty.
You petty.
I'm petty.
Legitimately, that 2015, I think the Cavs win that title.
Yes, absolutely.
Even with just Kyrie, I think they would have won that year. And you're then looking at like back to back.
They were leading game 1. He hurt his knee. They went to overtime. They lost. LeBron single-handedly won the next 2 games basically.
Yep, they were up 2-1, right?
2-1, and then he just basically ran out of gas. Yeah, it was horrible. It was so hard to watch.
Yeah, that was a brutal one. And then the Warriors were even better the next year, but the Cavs won that one. So
and then LeBron figured him out in 2016. So it's like,
and he actually had some help.
Yep.
Okay, so those are mostly the 2 teams you consider. In doing quick research, there weren't too many other obvious choices for that type of category. But anyway, moving over, we mentioned the Mavericks, who are going to be the Western Conference champions. But this has been a topic of conversation. I believe Stan Van Gundy first brought it to the forefront because he said the following: Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic are the most talented backcourt in NBA history. So I pose that question to you. Yeah, fam or nah? We agree with that statement. And if nah, would a title by the 2 of them change your opinion? And obviously, give me who your choice is, if not. Yeah,
so I know we just like kind of shit all over their team, but Steph and Clay really come to mind as like one of the most talented backcourts. I mean, I watched them play basketball for pretty much their entire career. That mattered, and there was just like no answer for them some games. I feel like if one of them didn't kill you by dropping 35, the other one did. You had Clay like locking down the best player almost always, and then you had Steph Curry shooting lights out pretty much for 7 years straight. I think Kyrie and Luka are amazing, super fun to watch. Yes, a title will change where they stand as a backcourt. I think that they would give Steph and Clay a run for their money if they probably got 2. I don't see Kyrie leaving anymore. No. I think when he first got there, I was like, this is going to be a rental. It's kind of weird. But as this season's played out, I don't see Kyrie leaving Dallas for like the rest of his career now. So, I mean, they got a shot. I don't see why not. And I love watching them play. They have such complimentary games, and it's like watching paintings.
For sure. In the interest of being a little different, I'm gonna I'm gonna go yeah, fam. And I'm focusing on the part about being the most talented.
Sure.
I was not like you. I legitimately didn't get the fit with the two of them because they both are trying to do pretty similar things. They're both pretty ball dominant, and love the one-on-one game. And they, to their credit, have really worked it out. And I agree with you, Kyrie. We're going to talk about this more later, but it seems like he has matured a lot, and some of the things that have led to like change of scenery in the past seem like he's kind of grown through that. So I agree with you. I do see this partnership continuing, and he's kind of the vet on the team. Not kind of, he is the vet on the team.
He is the vet,
and he obviously has the most experience in crunch time. He has a title and one of the probably the most clutch shot in NBA history. So obviously people are going to listen, especially a young team like the Mavs. But I think they are the most talented. They're two of the best closers in NBA history. I'm not saying they're the best because, again, I mean, there's so many good closers in NBA history, but these guys legitimately in the Western Conference Finals knew they could just keep the game close, and then when it was fourth quarter, it was time to start trying now, and they would beat the Wolves. You have to have a big lead on them to put them away, because anything in striking distance, those two guys, one of them's going to take over, if not both. It almost seems like they take turns doing it. And that's a really rare thing to have two guys. If one's not working, you can go to the other. And if they're both working, you pretty much have no shot. I mean, you have to hope you can match it with like a duo of your own. So I know we're going to preview the finals later. Like, if they're both firing on all cylinders, you need Tatum and Brown to both show up big time. And that historically has not happened for both of them. So,
especially in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think a title would solidify it, but I'm focusing on like talented backcourt part. Obviously the accolades,
I like
they
that.
don't
I like
have,
that take.
But I just love both their games, and you're right. It is like, I mean, it's poetry watching them. Kyrie, again, we're going to talk about him later for all the stupid shit he does. I've maintained forever that he's one of my favorite players to watch, because it's just like, his ball handles are, those I do think are the best in NBA history. Kyrie's ball handles are like incredible.
Yeah, it's hard to compare what he does with the basketball and scoring at as high of a clip as he does, being as flashy as it's like some AAU shit. It's like some shit you see at like Lifetime Fitness of some like high school guy, and he just like always seems to be doing the most and like finishing at the rim with some impossible shit and backbreakers, and like you said about the closing, like Luka and Kyrie have just been breaking backs, man. Honestly, exactly what like the Nuggets did last year. Like, shot clock winding down, it looks like the play is busted.
You play defense for 23 and a half.
Up and under, 4 bounces off the rim or some English off the backboard, and it's splashing. It's got to be demoralizing.
There have been 2 players where my wife has been watching. It's like, how are they doing that? They look so slow. And it's Jokic and Doncic. They both look like they're playing slow, but somehow their defenders behind them, and it's too late by that point. I mean, Kyrie is one thing because you can't guard those handles, but Doncic does it in a different way. But yet their games are similar because they can take you one-on-one. They're clutch, and they make their teammates better. They set up everybody on their team because all eyes are on them. And now you can't just hone in on one of them. Doncic used to be kind of by himself in that, and now he has Kyrie, so you can't focus on him because he'll just get it to Kyrie, who can do the same thing. So anyway. Yeah, there's some good backcourts in NBA history, but this one I think is the most talented.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we're going to focus a lot on NBA, but I did want to cover this because I thought it's pretty worthwhile in the college front. The NCAA, they reached a settlement with the Power 5 conferences. Now, I think the way the settlement works, ends a few existing cases, but a judge still has to agree to the terms. So it's in writing, not yet signed by a judge. But anyway, the NCAA is going to be paying players. They and the Power 5 conferences have agreed to allow schools to directly pay players for the first time in the 100-plus year history of college sports.
What it do, baby?
The NCAA and its leagues are doing so in a multi-billion-dollar agreement, and they're settling 3 pending federal antitrust cases. The NCAA will pay more than $2.7 billion in damages over 10 years to past and current athletes. The sources, and I get this from information from ESPN. The sources told ESPN that the parties have agreed to a revenue sharing plan also that'll allow each school to share up to roughly $20 million per year with its athletes. I think it goes without saying you and I are going to be FM to this, so I want to get your word association after I put in my 2 cents here. My phrase for this is "bout damn time." Cue LeBron.
It's about damn time.
I do think it's worth noting the NCAA, as usual, was late to this. They probably could have saved themselves money if they did this before. But I think this is a no-brainer. There are some parameters in place that are going to pay out players over the past 10 years, I believe it is. The majority of those are going to be the revenue generating sports, so college football, men's college basketball, right. And I think women's college basketball will be most of the former athletes that'll get paid. Now, the revenue sharing moving forward, it will be up to each school, is what I read. So basically, it'll be up to a school whether they do distribute some of that money that. I'll use Ohio State as an example. They're getting most of their revenue from football predominantly, then it's the 2 basketball teams. So it would be up to them whether they share it with the other sports that Ohio State competes in. So I would hope that they would, but I think it'll entice other sports to get better, but we'll see. But yeah. Obviously a no-brainer. Yeah, fam to this, but about damn time is my phrase. What about you, man?
I think my word is like capitalism. Hear me out. Anyone who plays for entertainment for millions of people and in turn makes these millions of dollars for anyone, whether it's a conglomerate or an institution like a university, you deserve a cut. Yeah. In this capital-ass country, it's the least that we could do. You know, they're kids at the end of the day. They're putting their bodies on their line. They're putting their lives on the line, you know, like especially in football and things like that. Like there has to be some kind of, like, in a weird way, like risk mitigation. Like they're kind of putting their asses out there. So, and everyone's profiting off of it except them. It's kind of fucked up. Yeah.
I also think this cleans up a lot of mess that the NIL era has created. It is legitimately like the Wild Wild West with NIL. I mean, there are players getting promised huge amounts of money and they're not getting paid, all this stuff. So this puts it in a formulaic method where college players can still get their cut, and it's not just the Wild Wild West, and you don't get shady characters because it's coming through the school. So I think it's a no-brainer. They should have done it before, and yeah, it's about damn time. And I think the NCAA could have saved themselves a lot of heartache if they would just accepted the inevitable. So
congratulations, you played yourself.
Okay, that wraps up Yeah Fam or Nah. We know you number one podcast listeners came for this section, so without further ado, let's hit that you played yourself.
I'm petty as hell.
And
I'm super petty.
here we
Petty Le Pew.
go.
Okay, you played yourself. I had to start with this bozo, this fuck. Harrison Butker. You know, I have all this information about what he said, but Rosh, do you do we even need to give this bozo's comments and speech attention?
Nah, we really don't need to amplify anything that he said. I'm sure if you know the guy, you know what he said, and I mean that's
even
that,
if you didn't, you no doubt came across his comments, and if you'd like to, you can find in any social media, you can find a clip of his commencement speech at Benedictine College. It's a small Catholic school in Kansas, so that might give you an idea of what we're dealing with. If you don't.
Shocker.
Yeah. In summary, you played yourself, Harrison Butker. Fuck out of here with this clown. Women, this goes without saying. You don't need me to tell you this. But just in case, please know that this clown does not speak for us. Y'all belong, deserve, and more than earn whichever direction you take your life and career. So ain't no fucking bozo gonna tell you otherwise. And I know you don't need me to tell you that, but please don't assume he speaks for any of us. Let's just keep that as the baseline. He doesn't speak for any of us, and if people want to expose themselves and be an idiot like him, so be it. Let them do that on their own. You played yourself. Could name this whole section after him. This fucking bozo's doubled down on it too, so fuck out of here. I hope the Swifties run his ass out of town. Kansas City.
Yeah.
Go kick in Canada, bucko.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna dignify this rant with the real response. And you know, like, what I'm really curious about is why or how the kicker on an NFL football team, one, was giving a commencement speech, period. Who fucking cares? And two, why are we continuing to give him a platform after the fact? I mean, there's a lot of like nuance to this thing where you could pick apart. There's a lot of different issues. Yeah, sure, he's a man, but he's also a white man. And there's all these ways you can cut and slice that. But really the worst part of everything is that he wasn't really talking to like super adults. Like, you're talking about fresh-faced young college grads. They're super young, and being that it was at a Catholic school, I think that was very intentional of him to kind of put some like evil, twisted propaganda out there for these women who probably have heard a lot of that in their life. Like, your real role is to do this and that. And like, I think that's like the worst part of it all is like, essentially there's like 21, 22, 23-year-olds that are having their, honestly, like one of their best days of their life and their biggest accomplishment to that day fucked up by some idiot trying to make it about himself. So yeah, seriously, get fucked, Harrison Butker.
Now I'm sure you figured from this episode title, but now for the special Denver Nuggets section of You Played Yourself. Jamal Murray, you're up first. Rosh, you want to take it away?
Yeah, this is a first, huh? I don't think I don't know, I gotta check the archives, but I don't know if we've ever featured the Denver Nuggets in here. I know for a fact that one of these people have, but I think this is for sure a first for Jamal Murray. So Jamal Murray, welcome to the stage, baby.
2 in a row for him because remember he threw a toddler tantrum and
that's correct. That's right. That was it. You played yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So you got lucky, and you're back here. Back-to-back episodes. You did go back-to-back somewhere. So quite an accomplishment, buddy. He was in the news, and after they got eliminated, and he said the amount of mental and physical energy spent being the hunted champs was more exhausting than always having a chip on your shoulder and looking to prove people wrong before they won it all. He was frustrated with the season being over and gave the whole, I feel like we should have won. They beat us, but I mean, I don't get what it is about Jamal Murray that I dislike so much. It does have a lot to do with him turning into prime Michael Jordan every fourth quarter against the Lakers, and also like playing like prime Mario Chalmers every other game.
Stay petty, so I don't have to
I digress. This whole thing was a coward's response. His teammate Christian Brown, he was even like, we were the better team. My brother in altitude, you lost the series. You quite literally were not the better team. Would it kill any of these guys to like give some credit? Like the Timberwolves played their fucking ass off. They beat you at home twice, where you were very invincible. Then you took 2 of their games, and then they came back and extended the series after you went up 3-2. Everyone basically counted them out. They won in Minnesota, and then they went to your home court and beat your asses. You have to give some kind of credit. That chip on your shoulder, like, you know, we were the hunted. That shit isn't fooling me. Yeah. Every great team in NBA history has, you know, they've won a title, and they have to go back out there and defend their title. And you have to prove it again. Like, a lot of people can win one title. Can you do it again? Can you have sustained success? Can you build a dynasty? This is where, like, good becomes great, and this is where great becomes legendary. Yeah. Like, this is how sports work. You know, and the last champ to repeat that counts, because, you know, the Warriors went back-to-back in 2017-18. Allegedly, yeah. The last team to repeat were the Heatles. Both of these teams are among the best teams of all time. Some would say that. I wouldn't say both of them are, but some would. I don't make these rules. So that's what I got on Jamal Murray.
I think that shit is so lame. It is the lamest energy that you can have after losing, and I get it, like, you're hurt afterwards, but Jamal Murray didn't have a problem skipping the media requirements after he threw a tantrum and threw a heating pad, so maybe skip it if you're gonna talk some nonsense like you did. But absolutely. I just found it funny because right after the game, you know, they were talking about that whole, like, hunted and all that bullshit. And it's like, then they cut to, it was NBA on TNT. It was like Shaq and Kenny Smith, who both have won back-to-back titles with respective teams, saying, that sounds like bullshit to me. So if they've done it before and they're calling bullshit, who am I to question that part?
Yeah, they are, you know, winners in this league. They went from good to great. They were not one season wonders, you know. So we don't make the rules. These are the rules of sports.
Okay. I'll take this next one. We're talking about the Nuggets.
All right.
Because this guy, I think, bothers me the most, and that is their head coach, Michael Malone.
Who?
So I'm going to run this clip for you, number one podcast listeners, so you get context.
How hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Fuck being up 20. The season's over. You don't understand that. The season's over. It's hard. Stupid ass questions.
This guy is so fucking lame. The only thing consistent about him is that he's a sore loser to go along with being a sore winner. This man couldn't keep the Lakers out of his mouth last year when they won. But it's not so fun when you don't get to talk shit, Coach Mikey, huh?
You're great.
This dude really is questioning a pretty legitimate question by a reporter doing his job and calling it a stupid-ass question. It's not a stupid-ass question, first of all. It's a legitimate question. And you fucking lost. And this whole thing about, like, being tired, again, I go back to what Shaq and Kenny Smith, I think Kenny Smith said this, is like, your time to be tired would have been the beginning of the season, but it's now been a calendar year. If you're still tired from last year's run, I don't see any great team, like, to your point, Roche, making that excuse. And if you really were a great team, why is that your fucking excuse? I mean, for all I question about Jokic, including last episode, how it seems like he hates being good at basketball, he did not make those excuses. So I do want to be fair in that sense and say he didn't make these same bullshit excuses that Jamal Murray and Michael Malone made. But it's crazy that, like, our perception of them held true in this instance. Like, they both could not handle losing with grace. It's like, and they really would have had nothing to hang their hat on, but then they made excuses, and it makes you like, okay, that's fucking bullshit. Because nobody made those excuses when Jokic was throwing up rainbow one-footed fadeaways over Anthony Davis.
Bingo.
Like, Give me a fucking break here.
And I think that was even like one of the dumber points is like they're not some franchise that has won constantly for 10 years where this was out of the order. Like they had one great season that ended in a title. They didn't make it to specific rounds the years prior. They were swept out of one round in the bubble. So it's like, I mean, it's not like some historically great franchise where, you know, like the New England Patriots where you expect them to kind of be sore losers. But yeah, I mean, I agree with all those points for sure. And, you know, remember, speaking of Luka, he once says everybody acting tough when they up. Everybody acting tough when they up. Everybody acting tough. So I can't help but think of that. Mike Malone is the epitome of that quote. He never stops talking shit. He's always chiding reporters. He's always being snarky about the refs and his pressers. I will tell you one thing I do like about him, though. He is consistent and keeps that same energy at the very least. Yeah. It is a bitch ass scaring the hose energy, but it's still an energy.
Yeah, I guess if people are gonna hate you, you might as well lean all the way into it.
Lean into it, double down. You know, that's what we like.
Lame ass energy to me, but okay. Let's wrap up this 7-piece Nuggets pack. I'll let you take this one away because we're about to throw You Played Yourself on someone that doesn't usually get it. But this keeps with the theme of this podcast, so nobody's safe. So, Roche, take it away.
I'm sorry, but Nikola Jokic, come on down. You're the next contestant on You Played Yourself. I dislike Jokic and Murray and the rest of the Nuggets for very personal reasons. I'm sure number one podcast listeners can put 2 and 2 together and figure that one out. But I started seeing a lot of tweets once the Nuggets got eliminated, and it really got some emotions brewing in me, and it was just like this nice hater energy. So I saw a tweet from a Twitter user Jomi Adeniran. In this tweet, every Nikola Jokic playoff series win opponent by seed: 1 2 seed, 1 4 seed, 2 6 seeds, 3 7 seeds, and 2 8 seeds. Wow. It sounds pretty arbitrary, but the main fact is he has never beaten a 50-win team in the postseason in his entire career. Wow. And I was like, damn, that's pretty bad. That's pretty Mickey Mouse. Yeah. You know, we love that term now. And, you know, Mr. Nikola Jockey, he plays basketball all the time, so much and so constantly. So I'm personally happy to see this downfall come so quick. Just 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you remember, but after he won the MVP, he was kind of quoted saying, "I'm kind of used to it. I didn't even pay attention to the race." And I was like, dude, what the hell? And now the media wants to, you know, let him off the hook and enjoy his off season, and we're all just taking our foot off the gas pedal. Not so fast, man. Look, it's time to start getting generational with our hating.
Petty, White.
Hey, are you calling me petty?
Yeah, you petty.
You petty.
Petty.
We learned this from Kendrick Lamar. We all haven't been hating hard enough. It's time to lock in. Everyone lock in. The agendas are agending, and this is one of them. If Nikola doesn't care about these awards or isn't paying attention to them or wanting to attend parades, then maybe stop playing, maybe stop giving him these awards. Whatever happened to voter fatigue anyway? Do you remember voter fatigue? I was told Giannis couldn't get another one. I was told LeBron couldn't win another one. But we let Nikola Jokic win 3. Now he's on a list with Kareem, MJ, LeBron, Larry Bird, Wilt, Magic. He's not on any of those guys' level. When the teams you face in the playoffs include that list, I can't really give you that much credit. You know what I'm saying? So, also, if that isn't enough of being a hater, here's a little more. I saw another tweet. This time it's from the user Big Cash the Mogul. He's actually pretty popular on NBA Twitter. Nikola Jokic has 3 MVPs with only 1 finals appearance. I don't really agree with he stole 2 MVPs and deserved 1, but he did win over other people. Yeah. The media said he's having the, quote, best peak of all time. In this tweet, he also says, LeBron went to 8 straight finals. Kind of hard to argue that. Agendas from the media is bad for the game. He should be in Dwight Howard convos. I thought, and when I heard that, I was like, dude, that is like, you're kind of like hating a little too much, right? And then I started looking at Dwight's achievements, which he included on this tweet, all right? Dwight's achievements, All-NBA second team, 2 times All-NBA third team, 5 times All-NBA first team, 4 times All-Defensive first team, 3 times Defensive Player of the Year, and All-Rookie first team. I don't even know if Jokic is in this category outside of the team wins. I don't know. Wow. All those accolades are pretty strong. I think Dwight might have gotten robbed out of a few MVPs, but I mean, yeah, I don't see. I think that's still hating a little too hard, but you got a case. Yeah. And you know, to sum up, since Nikola hates basketball so much and he has so much free time, he can start brushing his horse's manes now or something. The Cancun jokes just don't work for him. He doesn't seem like a Cancun type of guy. And just for the record, I kind of like him. Okay, he's friendly, he's lovable, but no one's safe from you played yourself.
Nobody's safe.
All right,
and I think it's kind of tired to be like, I hate basketball and you're really fucking good. I know I ranted last episode about it.
Yeah,
but I hate that.
He's a generational player.
Why
he should
are you
love
so
basketball.
fucking miserable being so good at basketball? Like, why should we care more than you? But anyway, yeah. For the record, as you number 1 podcast listeners recall, I would have given the MVP to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I said that in last episode. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, Luka's definitely taking that snub personally, so
no
he's
kidding.
Going scorched earth on everybody right now. So,
okay. My next "You Played Yourself" goes to New York Knicks fans. Listen. Nothing against them personally, but more of the perception game here. Nobody's safe, obviously, but New York Knicks fans are what everyone claims Dallas Cowboys fans are like. They are
That's good.
Obnoxious without anything to show for it. They actually, like, historically don't have anything to show for it. And they are miserable when the Knicks are winning. My prime example of this is famously Stephen A. Smith, who is a huge Knicks fan. And the irony is incredibly obvious when he trolls the Cowboys when they inevitably lose when it matters most, but doesn't realize he's what he claims Cowboys fans are to him about the Knicks. And he is a famous representation. They're all like this, and I think they take pride in it. Fine. New York,
they definitely do. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But you played yourself to Knicks fans and this whole perception. Like, I feel like we're talking about skating by. We don't press hard enough on this fucking awful fan base that is obnoxious, and instead we focus on other ones like that are not necessarily as true as this one. You got anything to add to this?
Kinda, but so shout out to your big brother Vish. This is gonna be the slight zag of today's episode. Basketball is kinda better when the Knicks are kinda good. I mean, I just kinda like the content they bring. For what it's worth, I do not like these fans. They are, after all, they're Yankees fans. So they're basically the worst sports fans on earth. But I'm here for the memes. I'm here for the laughs and all this other buffoonery that comes with New York fans. So, I mean, I don't hate it as much as you. Right. So,
bing bong.
I think it's more because I'm
slight zag.
Because of my fanhood. Everybody has all these like memes about Cowboys fans, but it's like, how are we?
Yeah, they all apply. You made a good point. Yeah. They all apply.
How about now we're going to take it this year, starter pack, we apply it for the Knicks. It's like a bing bing bong sound effect and someone wearing a snapback and a vintage coat. Yeah. Tim's, like,
for sure. Yep.
Anyway, okay. Next, you played yourself. Let's veer away from the NBA and go to the W. You played yourself goes to this Caitlin Clark discourse. So I wanted to kind of take this in a couple different directions here. Listen, first of all, if you're hating on Caitlin Clark at this point, I just don't even think you can really make a good point anymore. You're just like, you can't even hide that it's not hating it. So it's pointless. Just say you're not a supporter of women's sports or something. I don't know what to tell you. But there is this popular narrative of lecturing other WNBA players about how they should appreciate the eyes and money Clark is bringing to the game.
Sure.
I want to give credit where credit's due. This point was buttoned up and summarized by Elle Duncan, who's on ESPN, does a great job. I think they do College Game Day, and then she does a lot of WNBA studio coverage too, Sports Center host too. But who said these WNBA players weren't appreciating the eyes and money Clark is bringing to the game? In fact, they've now since obviously stated it. Like, what are they supposed to do? Be in awe of her? Or is it okay with you all that they're just competitors and want to beat her? Like, I think we really need to evaluate and check ourselves, because you guys are not bringing this type of energy to male athletes. You don't look at other NBA players and say, you guys should really thank LeBron for all the eyes and money he's bringing to the sport. Or you're not doing the NFL like Mahomes and all that. No, there are people trying to take his head off when they play him. And we don't even question it. So I think we got to be careful with this discourse. It's like we're new into the sport and like trying to tell them how to behave. But in reality, we don't say this to other sports. So I wanted to give you played yourself both to the people still hating on Caitlin Clark and to those like lecturing these WNBA players as if they don't appreciate the eyes on the game. I'm very sure that's not the case, but they're competitors. So they're not supposed to just like bow down to an opponent. And she's a fucking rookie, and that's how rookies get traded, especially someone as big as that. Like, a number one pick, you're going to get everybody's best shot. They want to beat you. So what do you expect? We don't expect it differently in men's sports. So what's the real reason people are having these lectures? Like, let's watch it with that. Just a little warning shot if you find yourself agreeing with some of the gatekeepers of WNBA.
Yeah, and all it's a really good point. Like, I think a lot of it, I think everyone deserves a lot of credit for bringing the eyes to this game. Just in the last 2-3 years, the amount of exposure on major sports channels, news networks, social media, whatever it is, even if like you play like Prize Picks or whatever that stuff, like you're seeing promos for WNBA games and betting on that stuff. There's a lot of credit to be given around. There's more money going into the game, more money coming out of it. I do think like the tweet like Angel Reese sent like kind of was like in bad taste. I don't really think like this early in the season you need to be talking about another team like being like, it just seemed a little too shady. And I mean, I know like the point you made about like the men's league does that, but I don't really like it shit there either. Like, it's a bunch of rookies talking, and it's like, man, let's play basketball and let's beat each other's ass on the court. So I just don't like all the riffraff that comes with all this dramatic stuff, and I'm like, let them do what they want to do. And if anything, all that stuff makes everyone else's jobs better. I mean, that stuff gets clicks, that stuff gets people watching, that stuff pays bills. So let the kids play, as they like to say. Let the kids talk. Let the kids play. Some's going to be in bad form. Some's going to be in good form. Some people will like some of it. Who gives a shit? Let it all happen.
Just like we do with other sports. You're right. Next up, we've talked about him a little earlier, but I really wanted to cover this one, and you played yourself. You played yourself to Kyrie Irving gatekeeping. Oh, our old friend Cryrie.
Cryrie, baby. It's been so long since we said Cryrie.
It feels like a
Years.
different era, honestly. And maybe it is.
Yeah.
This notion from folks that they say things like, you hated on him before, now you're trying to sing his praise, is so fucking asinine to me. It screams of immaturity, like, and it's so condescending. Like, how dare you not commit to liking or disliking a player for life? As if we could never think past that method of thinking. Fuck out of here with that. How about we think about this? Maybe two things can be true. Maybe, just maybe, and by maybe I mean he definitely did say something stupid before, and also maybe, again, not maybe, definitely, he's been great for the Mavs. Maybe he's matured. Have we considered that? This man became a father. He moved cities. He's on a team where he's the veteran now. He's aged a few years. Sounds like maturing to me. A lot of circumstantial evidence to confirm that hypothesis there.
Yep, facts.
Again, we name dropped him earlier, but this is credit to Vish, who put it this way. He literally didn't play half of the Nets games in 2021 and then proceeded to promote an anti-Semitic movie. And we want to act like it wasn't appropriate to, quote, hate on that or hate on him for that. I would do that 10 out of 10 times. And I still don't agree with how he handled his situations in his previous teams. The end of the Cavs run, pretty much the entirety of his time with the Nets was awful to me. I think it was
same with the
Celtics. But
he was a dickhead.
But now that, I think, speaking of awful sports towns, like, I'm hesitant to put it all on one side because we don't know what he was dealing with up there. But
fair.
Two things can be true. They can. Just because we hated him one second doesn't mean we can't praise him the next. I'm still never going to be the hugest fan of him off the court because, to my knowledge, I don't think he's owned some of that officially. It does seem like he's matured from some of the other things that bothered me. It seems like he embraces the team. I think he really learned from his experience leaving the Cavs. He's done a lot of growth. I've seen interviews with him where he's been really retrospective about that. And I don't know for sure, but it seems like he regrets that move. I love his game. I said it earlier. He's one of my favorite players to watch. But two things can be true. He did deserve the hate then, and on the court, he does deserve the praise now. He's going to the NBA Finals with the Mavericks, and to him and Luka's credit, they found a way to make it work, a situation that people thought wouldn't. So, and the simple fact of the matter is, in his previous stops, he had some damn good players to play with. It didn't work with KD and Harden in Brooklyn, so he had to at least play a part in that. It didn't work in Boston with Tatum and Brown. He had to play at least a part of that. So maybe, just maybe, those stops taught him something and he's matured a little. I don't know. Luka's not just a magical potion for Kyrie. He had to do some soul searching of his own to embrace that new role of his.
Yeah.
So this fucking gatekeeping, because you hated on him once, you can never like him, is fucking asinine. It's so stupid. Because, I mean, think about this think about this angle, okay? You like a certain team, and a player you previously hated gets traded to your team. What, are you supposed to keep that same energy and all of a sudden not root for him on your team? Like, that's just one example of how stupid that sounds. It's such a ridiculous premise to say, where's that energy now? The energy was where it was supposed to be back when he was promoting stupid ass shit that was dangerous to a whole group of people. Last I checked, I don't regret that. And I don't think that disqualifies me from saying he played really good for the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals.
Yep.
Like, think about what we're talking here. You don't get to decide how other fans fan. Like, fucking relax.
It's standard character development. Like, as in any TV show or movie. I mean, how many TV shows you've watched where you hate a character season 1, by season 5, they're one of your favorites? You know what I mean? Like, it happens all the time. Oh, you're supposed to just keep hating that character even though he's right. Whatever? Come on, man. You know, I'm glad Kyrie got it together, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't rooting for him. Like, I'm very blatantly rooting for him. There's a lot of people that you love that you no longer love. There's as many people as you used to hate that you no longer hate. It's okay to change. It's okay to change your mind.
We need more of that.
I know we always talk. Yeah, we always talk about doubling and tripling down, but that's like a little facetious there, because like, people can change, evolution happens. And, when it comes to doubling, tripling down, when all else fails, you could always, say you never change your stance and gaslight, like me when it comes to the Texans. No, I never said they suck. No, I never said I was done watching.
Never happened.
Never happened. Yeah, but, like, back to the point, like, I did see a tweet, actually, that I wanted to talk about. It was by a Twitter user at HoopMixOnly, MIX. Quote, "It's wild how Kyrie never wanted to play second fiddle to LeBron, but is fine doing it for Luka. Why do you think that is?" I don't know if he was insinuating anything, because there is that kind of vibe there, but I think the whole thing comes along with this whole thing that we're talking about, like him maturing. Like, maybe he did realize that he was never the type of player or had that type of skill set to run the team through him. There's nothing wrong with second fiddle. Just look at, like, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Like, one of them is a Hall of Famer who carried the other to 6 finals, and the other guy is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's widely regarded as one of the best players of all time. So you know what, Kyrie?
I wasn't ready for that.
Do you, bro?
I wasn't ready for that.
Do you, bro?
Dude.
That was a heater I had in my pocket for a while.
Incredible.
So
I'm glad I didn't see that before. That's awesome. Yeah, man.
That's called motherfucking bars.
Bars, baby.
You don't know nothing about that.
Hell yeah. By the way, I know, speaking of gatekeeping, I do feel like a gatekeeper on behalf of Magic Mind. I'll tell you that.
Nice. Yeah.
You know this, Roche. You number one podcast listeners by now know this. I've been using it to start my day. The new development is that Magic Mind's even allowed me to cut out some of my caffeine for the morning.
Nice.
And I know we've talked about this before, but it can be used as a supplement to your caffeine. It can replace it. I wasn't a big caffeine drinker in the morning anyway, so it's allowed me to just take Magic Mind some days instead of in addition to. It's a clean boost to start the workday, so I'm digging it. You've been digging it, Roche?
For sure, man. It's easy. It's just a small little 1 ounce shot, and it pretty much does the trick.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it's given me clarity and energy, so I'm not super fatigued at work or at home or on this mic for you number one podcast listeners. And better yet, it's all natural, so there's no guilt. It's been fitting my effort to watch what I put in my body lately. So, whether it's in place of or alongside your usual caffeine, Magic Mind gives you number one podcast listeners the clean boost you need to handle all facets of your lives. You know the drill. You can go get yourself some at magicmind.com/Prem Brulee. In the promo codes, enter the code Brulee20. That's BRULEE20 20. And with it, you'll get up to 48% off your first subscription or 20% off your one-time purchase. That's Brule20, BRULEE 20, for up to 48% off. If you're already a subscriber, which I hope you number one podcast listeners are, you can also save on your next subscription payment. If you just want to try it out for a one-time payment, as I said, same code, it'll get you 20% off that method. So if you're having trouble being at 100% some days, I would really encourage you to try it out. You know I wouldn't steer you number one podcast listeners wrong. So again, that's magicmind.com, magicmind.com/Prem Brulee. You already know how to spell that. You're here, aren't you? With discount code Brule20 for up to 48% off a subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase. I would get the 30-pack if I were you. It's the best value. You already know how I am. You know, Magic Mind probably needed when the NBA came up with their challenge system, by the way, Roshan.
Oh, yes. God. Don't get me started on this shit, man.
Yeah. So I covered it last episode. You played yourself to NBA challenges. But as a recap, you number one podcast listeners, last episode, I talked about how the NBA challenges, you should get your timeout back if you have a successful challenge. I think that's a no-brainer. But then another scenario happened that was baffling to me, and it was in the Western Conference Finals. If you challenge a play, the goal should be to get it right. And that sounds like a super obvious statement, but let me give you the scenario.
Right.
So this play in the Wolves-Mavs, I think it was in the fourth quarter, they reviewed who touched the ball last out of bounds. The scenario was that it was obviously a Wolves player who touched it last, but the thing was the Wolves player who touched it last got fouled by Kyrie Irving. So he only touched it last because Kyrie Irving slapped his hand and the ball went out of bounds. So, of course, Kyrie didn't technically touch the ball, but also the guy wouldn't have just let go of it. They called it Wolves' ball. So the Mavs challenged it because, hey, the video shows we didn't touch it. The Mavs won the challenge because the challenge can only look at whose possession it is, which is crazy to me. Because they couldn't, even though the video evidence clearly shows it as a foul, switch it to make it the right call on the court. But they can switch possession even though it wouldn't have come into play if they would have called it correctly. If we're challenging plays, the goal should be to get it right. It shouldn't be to review that certain thing. So I think that's another thing the NBA needs to correct, because I think, for example, the Mavs wouldn't have challenged that if the refs called it the Wolves' ball. It's like, oh, we can see on the video that we fouled, so we shouldn't waste a challenge on this because it could backfire and someone could get add a foul back. So in that sort of scenario, it would still accomplish the NBA's goal to keep the game moving at a speed. But if we're doing challenges, especially in the playoffs, the goal should be to get the call right. So that should be the main purpose of it, because that can swing games. That can lead to series victories or defeats. So anyway, I think it's a great concept, the challenges. And, you know, I don't want to bury them over it because it's the kind of the first year they're doing it, but there are some obvious tweaks that need to be made.
For sure.
All right, man. Let's wrap up. You played yourself with our non-sports ones. Okay. My non-sports you played yourself for this episode is getting older, man. Dude. At what point did I have to add all these vitamins to my morning routine? We used to do one Flintstones chewable and keep it pushing. You and I are Indian, so our parents would usually make us eat some almonds also in the morning and keep it pushing before school.
Yeah.
But, damn, man. Like, when the fuck did I have to add I don't need a pill organizer, but I'm a few steps away from it. And also, full disclosure, number one podcast listeners, me and Roche over here, we got a history of heart issues in our family.
For sure.
Yeah. Did y'all know that everything that's any good to snack on has a shit ton of sodium and is not good for your old ticker?
Absolutely.
What a depressing, development in my search to really monitor what goes in my body. Your boy is a salty snack guy, and
for sure,
nothing of any taste. If you have any taste of savory snacks, good luck finding a good snack, because they're not out there.
I'm with you, man.
It's not fun. I do miss the invincibility of being young and eating whatever you want, and then just going, taking off on a sprint and playing like a basketball game, like unfazed.
For real, calling it a day. Yeah. And don't hate too hard on the pill organizers. I'm a supplement guy myself. I think the pill organizer is less of an old guy thing, more of a this will remind me to take it type thing. So I try to organize the whole setup for the week, and then I keep it on the counter. So when I walk by, it's almost like fucking bullying me. It's like, hey.
Yeah. I gotta check this off.
You did not take your medicine today or your vitamins or whatever. Yeah. Here you go. Like you'll know, because like when it's a Tuesday and your Monday's still full, you're like, fuck, man, I fucked up.
Played myself.
So it's accountability tracker for sure. So reverse you played yourself to pill organizers.
Okay. Good to know. I might need to add that then.
Yeah.
All right. You got any non-sports you play?
And honestly, man, put some gummy vitamins into your regimen. You know, they're not that bad. Yeah, you know, they make gummy vitamins that taste pretty good. I mean, I take like a multi-V that's like a gummy. I take like a melatonin that's a gummy. It's fine, man. You can make this a little better.
Yeah, but the snack thing.
Yeah, snack thing. I got nothing for you, bro. Because the haters will try to tell you to eat celery and carrots.
That's not cutting it.
Haters can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
Oh, just replace with some fruit and veggies. Yeah, go fuck yourself, okay? All right.
For real.
You got any non-sports you played yourself?
Actually, I do, man. They're kind of music related. For my first one, Spotify. Spotify got rid of the related artist feature. I don't know who out there in number one podcast listening land uses this feature, but I use it all the time. When I found out that I didn't have that feature anymore, I turned into a Karen very quickly. I was complaining in Spotify cares DMs. I sent rude tweets, the whole nine. This is an amazing feature that I saw absolutely no reason to get rid of. Me personally, I found so many good artists this way. You know that for like the longest time, I've always liked discovering new artists. So when I hear a band and I'm like, oh, this sounds like some shit I never heard of. The first thing I want to do is I want to find more things that sound like that. I can no longer do this.
Shit.
And you know, this was one of the reasons that I had a music website back in the day. I'm
Shout out We Wore Masks.
And Spotify was one of the reasons that I killed that website, because I'm like, this does all the work for me. So fuck Spotify for getting rid of that. I hope they bring it back. I know they're like beta testing it. So hopefully they bring it back. So Spotify, if you're listening to this, bring that shit back.
So are you announcing the return of We Wore Masks right here on this episode?
No, I'm not. It's too much work. It's too much work. If it ever came back, it would probably have to be a podcast, just because I don't want to build a website or do anything like that. But
rest in peace, We Wore Masks.
Rest in peace for sure. And similarly for music, there's going to be a new Eminem song out. I saw on Twitter. I think I speak for everyone when I say we didn't ask for this. Cue the Stephen A. Smith clip, because come on, man, no one wants to hear that shit.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
It's called Houdini, and he apparently, his tagline is "Watch me make my career disappear." It's like, dude, we don't need this.
Yeah,
Stop
I saw
this.
a promo. He had David Blaine on his promo for the song. Yeah.
Like, man, you're like 51 years old. We don't need this shit.
Yeah, that's bad news, because you use the related artist, but I use you for music recommendations, so
so I'm gonna have to work extra hard now. So that's crazy.
It has a trickle down effect.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick Am I Hatin'? It's our chance to clearly throw out some hatin'-ass statements, but it's a safe space for us. So my Am I Hatin' for this week is pretty much a legitimate question. Am I hating it if I hate when to-go food orders are wrong? I genuinely don't have a ton of patience for it. Listen, full disclosure, number one podcast listeners, I know this sounds like I'm being insensitive. I've worked in the service industry. I've packed to-go orders myself, worked in customer service, the whole nine. I go and pick up my food, and I check everything that we take to go. But should I have to do that? Why can I not trust that the things that I order to go are actually all in there? Why is this such a occurrence? And I know some of you are out there just taking your food home with not everything in there and not saying a word about it. But it makes me mad even when I'm missing something, like someone else goes and picks it up and they don't have the same thoroughness as me. It's like, I want to be able to trust other people to pick up the food, but I also want to be able to trust that the places I'm ordering from get the shit right. The other disclosure I feel the need to say is, y'all have seen me. I'm not a picky eater. I didn't get big by accident, I say usually. So, I'm not asking for like specific orders. I'm not doing all that, like know this, sub that, none of that usually. So, but I don't think it's unreasonable that I want what I ordered. Yes, I can understand the occasional miss, but why do I have to check this shit so thoroughly that it's become part of my routine? So, am I hating Rush, first of all? I
am going to go out on a limb and say you are not hating, because this happens all the fucking time. Right. And like you, I want to like be compassionate towards food workers, all this stuff. But, it's really critical sometimes, because it never seems like it's that big of a deal, but it's always like you ordered wings and they forgot the ranch. And it's like, no, I specifically wanted Wingstop ranch. And you did not put the extra ranch in there, knowing that I'm a excessive ranch dipper because I get dry rub and I need the ranch. And I ordered an extra ranch, which I also paid for, by the way.
Oh, man, don't get me started.
No, I want the extra fucking ranch in there. That chaps my ass, bro. So I'm with you.
And then you call them, they're like, do you want to come back and get it? And you're like, fuck it, man.
No, I don't want to drive 4 miles for a fucking ranch.
Man, I wanted you to put it in there in the first place. And you best believe I'm going to have you credit my account if you mess shit up. That's where I'm at in my adulthood.
Facts.
Because
I need the 75 cents back, bro.
It's the principle.
We're Indian also. Yeah. Like you fucked with the wrong race.
Exactly. It just happened to me the other day. I'm not gonna no free publicity here, good or bad, but damn, they forgot.
I just gave Wingstop free publicity. That's fucked up. Yeah, you're right. Cut the check, Wingstop. Yeah. Your boys need a 10-piece.
Yeah. I got a hot Wingstop take 2, so I might have to save that one. That might be controversial. We might have to bring that out later. I think you know the take too.
Oh no, you about to piss me off.
I'm pretty sure you know the take about it. So it's as controversial as my Frank Ocean take. So we're gonna have to save those. We might have a new segment, like try to get the other host to not react.
Punch air.
Yeah, there you go.
To punch air. Yeah.
Okay. You got any Am I Hating, Stad?
I do. You're not gonna like this one. But before you ever get the chance to present the opposition, am I hating if I say I'm so sick? I see you smiling right now. I know you know what I'm about to say. Am I hating if I think we got to get rid of the birthday post on IG?
Yeah. No, disagree.
Okay,
disagree with you. This is a safe space, so have at it.
So for some reason, I don't know what it was. I just turned a corner one day and I was like, this shit is so fucking stupid. And it really started when I was doing a post like I diligently do for all the people that I care and love about on their birthdays, which is very meaningful to me, by the way. Like, I don't want to take that away from this segment.
To your credit, you do.
I was doing
people.
I was doing a post for my girlfriend who I love very much, and I was like, this is fucking obnoxious. I was like, this woman lives with me. Yeah. Why the fuck am I doing all this? This is absolutely stupid. It's a waste of time. I have so much time that I spent on this post for what, 100 likes. It's just, I was like, there's not enough ROI for me. Back to capitalism. There wasn't enough ROI for me on it, and most of my friends, they might not care. I know that one's a little different, but like, you know, you got cousins and friends, and it's like not everybody knows everybody. I was just like, why do we do this? Why do we feed into this virus of social media? Like, why can't we just keep up to date with our friends and do all this stuff? And like, I don't know, like when I got rid of Facebook a few years ago, when I stopped using it really, I made a point to take all these people's birthdays and put them in my calendar, my Apple calendar. So I don't need Facebook for the reminder. So I do have reminders of people's birthdays, and I'm very adamant about texting them, calling them, doing whatever on their birthdays. So am I hating to say that we need to do away with feeding this narcissistic machine of social media and start thinking for ourselves again and being like, let's bring human connection back? Because like, what are we doing this for? Some likes and some reposts? Like, we don't need that shit. Why don't I just call you up and tell you I love your ass anyway? Like,
ultimately,
so, let me flesh that idea out.
Ultimately, yes,
there's good intentions behind it.
Yes, that is more important. It is the thought that counts. So like, a post, it's accomplished the same way by texting someone, calling them, whatever method you so choose to wish someone. Carrier pigeon next year, postcard from you next year. We're gonna keep going,
baby.
We're gonna keep going backwards in time, basically, until we send.
And another like big one that kind of did it for me is like, I see this often, like people posting about like their mom's birthdays or their dad's birthdays, and neither of their parents are on social media. So they're like, happy Mother's Day to my mom. I'm guilty of this. I posted Mother's Day pictures all the time.
Not on there.
Happy Mother's Day. My mom is not on Instagram. What the fuck am I posting this shit for? Yeah. I'm like, why the fuck am I wasting time posting this? My mom is not going to see this. I'm going to call her and tell her I love her. You know what I'm saying? And she'll like that way more than this dumbass post that I'm doing.
Yeah, and you're going to go there and spend time with her.
Facts. Yeah. Shout out my mom.
Shout out her. Now, it does feel like everybody came to the same conclusion right before my birthday, so I do want to state that, listen, I understand your point, but it feels like everybody uniformly decided right before my birthday that they weren't going to post about it.
We took it out on you?
Yeah, it does feel that way. It might be a little self-centered to feel that way, but listen, then again, I have my own podcast. Yeah.
Facts.
So I'm somewhere in between. Like, I can't lie, I do like that superficial shit. I am one of those. I'm guilty. I admit it. But I respect everybody's method of wishing birthdays, and we are getting older, so that shit is just doesn't hit the same. So
yeah,
I get both.
I will say though, we're about 8 days after your birthday, so happy belated birthday first of all. And you know what you can do instead of posting on social media is you can listen to this fucking episode and you can repost it on your story. And if you don't, you a bitch and you hate Premal.
Yeah, you hate me, and
that's all I gotta say about that. For his birthday, listen to it.
Amen. Great plug. Can't top that.
Yeah, that's a great plug.
So this is a safe space. So no, you are not hating, but I am hating a tad bit. Because listen, to each their own. Like, I'm still gonna post. And a long time ago, I used to. This is an early too much sense. I've talked about it before. This isn't my too much sense, but I used to focus on like reciprocation. Like, did they post about me? That's the only way I'm gonna post about them. And I think that energy is lame, so I stopped doing that. I post because you should post because you want to, not because you're doing it for likes or whatever. So
for sure.
I'm still like a grand gesture type of, that's how I show my love sometimes. Like, I don't care if you don't know the person, I'm still going to post about them and whatever. I get both sides of it. So anyway, that was a good one. I like that. I did have a feeling you were going there. Okay, let's move on to who you got and what you feeling. Number one podcast listeners, as a recap, last episode, me and AMD talked about some disappointing teams of the playoffs. He picked the Phoenix Suns. I picked the LA Clippers, who, by the way, just extended Ty Lue to make him the highest paid NBA coach, and presumably keep the Lakers from hiring him away from them.
Yep.
We talked about our most surprising results. I like this one. We kind of took different directions. Namdi talked about Anthony Edwards kind of taking a huge step up And I talked about the changing of the guards, the young players stepping up, and this playoffs being one that was full of those. Who's making the finals? This one was brutal. Namdi said Knicks versus Timberwolves. Now, he couldn't have predicted Brunson getting hurt and all that stuff, but was off on that one. I picked Celtics, Timberwolves, so it's half right, but I think we both thought the Timberwolves coming off of that victory against the reigning champs, the Nuggets, they would ride that momentum, and their size would be too much for the Mavs, but, Karl Anthony Towns disappeared. Anthony Edwards didn't have his best games, and they did not have an answer for Kyrie and Luka, and more so the Wolves did not have an answer for the pick and roll lobs to Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. They seemed like they were getting those every other drive in the first few games. So while it felt like the matchup nightmare for the Nuggets was the Wolves, it definitely felt like the Mavs were the Wolves' kryptonite. It shows how key matchups are. It seems like the Wolves constructed their team to beat the Nuggets, but then they faced a team that they weren't built to beat. And the funny thing is, it's like you almost think I feel like the Nuggets Mavs would have been a more fun series to see, but it just so happens, it's a matchup league, so we'll see how.
Yeah, and I mean, even the Clippers played the Mavericks better than the Timberwolves did. So, I mean, they played them better than the Thunder too. So, because I think the Mavs Clippers series was a little tighter, whereas the Thunder series, it felt like there was a few blowouts. So. I think there was like some close wins, but it's crazy how matchups determine stuff.
In this day and age, you can't play that many bigs if your bigs aren't on the offensive end punishing you for playing small ball.
Yeah.
And the Wolves, I mean, Gobert is just a defensive player. Karl Anthony Towns wants to shoot 3 after 3. Naz Reid, that's his role isn't to post up. I mean, he won 6-man not playing that role, so he's not much of that type of game. So with that combination, there was just no way the Wolves, obviously hindsight's 2020. There's no way they were going to stop the Mavs, especially with how Towns was shooting.
Yeah.
Because the Wolves weren't using their size against the Mavs. They negated it on their own on the offensive end. So,
so quick retroactive. You played yourself to Rudy Gobert. How many Defensive Players of the Year awards he's going to get and become the center focus of attack for an offense? We've seen it too many times. Stop giving this man the award.
They couldn't play him at the end. I mean, there were people.
And stop it.
It was a legitimate debate. I thought. I was thinking. I think you got to take him out of the lineup against the Mavs. You got to do something different.
Yeah.
Also, retroactive, you played yourself to the Wolves
go back to the last
for not making adjustments.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing drop coverage. They were giving up wide open. We already talked about the alley-oops and all that stuff. They're giving up wide. They didn't make adjustments. They didn't make lineup adjustments. They didn't force Towns into the block. I mean, and he really can't go into the block while Gobert's there. So they needed to take one of them out. So
one of them out.
I mean,
and you live with Naz Reid because he can score better and he has range.
Now I still don't think they would have beat him, but it's like they didn't even try to make adjustments. So,
well, they got the shit kicked out of them for like 3 of the games. So
anyway, okay, that's a nice segue into this episode's picks. I want to get your pick. We're going to keep it really simple. Who is winning the NBA Finals, the Celtics or the Mavericks, and in how many games?
I think I got to go hot hand here. I think Dallas is going to win the title, and I think it's going to go the distance. I think it's going to take all 7 games to do it. I think the Mavs will do it in Boston. This might be the rarest of times where you see a born and bred Houstonian like myself outwardly root for a Dallas team. I don't like the Celtics. I never will. I don't root for any Boston team. Fuck the whole city. Fuck the whole sports fan base there. Whatever. I'm not rooting for them. And Dallas is like a close second or third on this list. So it takes a lot for me to root for them. But I love Luka. Love Kyrie. They got some cool pieces. So hopefully they get it done.
I've gone back and forth with this, and truly, I don't know which direction this series is going to go, because we've seen Tatum disappear in big time series, and if that happens, obviously that's advantage Mavericks. But what happens if all 4-star players, so Tatum and Brown on the Celtics and Luka and Kyrie, go off? I would think that would be advantage Mavs, because those are incredible closers, like historic, like we talked about earlier.
Sure.
But how is Boston going to defend that dribble drive and those lobs? You would think they're going to do it differently, because Joe Mazzulla's pretty good at strategy.
Right.
I really do go back and forth. But the Celtics live and die by the 3. And
they do.
In the finals, you get a lot of low scoring, and usually it's the latter. You die by the 3 if you're going to depend on it. So that's why I keep going back.
As we saw, a lot of teams do. Yeah.
I mean, they routinely disappear in games. So I think we could see a few blowouts one way or the other. But I do think it's going to be a really good series. I am rooting for the Mavs because, again, the whole Boston thing, you already said it. But as far as picks go, I think I'm going to go Celtics in 7.
All right. One of us is going to win this one. I love that.
Yeah. It's mostly an interest in being different, but I am rooting for the Mavs.
It is a true coin flip, to be fair. I think they're very well matched.
Now, what?
And I think like you said, it's going to be a bunch of blowouts. I don't think there's going to be any. There might be like 1 or 2 particularly close games. Yeah.
Watch it be completely different, because I thought the Wolves Mavs series was going to be close, and it didn't end up being. So truly, I'm interested to see. And the other thing I'm interested to see is whether Kristaps Porzingis plays or not, because I think that makes a huge difference. It pulls the Mavs bigs away from the hoop. It gives the Celtics a mobile big man to defend that, dribble drive, pick and roll. So we'll see. But Kyrie and Luka are something else, so wouldn't be surprised to see it happen.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you feeling lately, man?
What am I feeling lately? I think I was on Creme Brulee about this time last year, and it's always like a very similar answer. I'm a big fan of the summer. Pool season, great. Still, apartment life. Got that pool like down the street from me, technically. And I just went to Marfa, Texas. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this.
I was going to ask you about this.
So it's like a huge. It's not a huge. It's a very small town, but it's a huge like deal for Texans typically, because it's, if you're into like the art scene and stuff like that, it's like a very cool little niche art town. There's like museums and all kinds of weird stuff there. There's like a bunch of art pieces, and it's kind of like a dusty West Texas town, and it's very like nature focused, because it's like basically a desert. You can see the stars at night. It's just like this little weird planetary oasis with a bunch of art and a cool little scene. So we turned a long weekend into a trip out there. It takes about 7 hours to drive there.
Whoa, that far?
It's not a short drive. Well, being in Houston, it's like 11. So we're like, now that we live in Austin, we're a little closer. So it's about 6:10. We took Penny, the dog, for all you number one podcast listeners. So, when you have a little dog, you need to take a few breaks.
Smaller bladder.
Let her stretch her legs, and smaller bladder, So I made a whole thing out of it. It was cool.
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah.
What I'm feeling, you already shouted out earlier, but I just had a birthday, so I'm feeling turning 33.
Yes, sir.
As washed as I'm feeling lately, always grateful for birthdays, and I love giving other people attention, but I'm not great at receiving it. But I appreciate being spoiled by family and friends and all the people that reached out. But yeah, I love this time of year. I love being kind of like a spring into summer birthday. And a lot of years we do like a bar crawl. We didn't do it this year, but usually falls on this weekend around Memorial Day weekend. So I always have a good time, and my wife especially makes it special. So that's what I'm feeling lately, is feeling the love from others for that birthday, turning 33. Who would have thought it, you know?
Oh, no. We made it, bro.
Yeah, we did. You know, who would have thought it? My back to answer that question. But anyway, let's wrap up this episode with Too Much Sense. Hit that intro. Okay, you number one podcast listeners, my Too Much Sense for this episode is that we all need grace. Sometimes we're in a position to give grace. Other times we can only hope to receive it from others. I think it's an important reminder that oftentimes we needle and jab those closest to us. So if you're in a spot to give grace, let that small stuff go when someone else is needling and jabbing, looking for a reaction, even if it's bothering the other person. We can only hope that the favor is returned to us when we have a moment we're not doing so well ourselves. So that's my Too Much Sense for this week. Give grace when you're able to, and that way you can hope to receive it in return when you need it.
Perfect, man.
Yeah, man. Well, you number one podcast listeners, we had a chock full of NBA playoffs edition of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. You already know that that 7-piece Nuggies, we had to address it.
A little bit of sweet and sour
Amen.
sauce.
Yeah. Absolutely. With the dip.
With the dip.
So that 7-piece Nuggies, they're out at the horse tracks with Jokic. Not quite Cancun, but you number one podcast listeners, thank you for tuning in to a brand new edition of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. I've been your host, Premal Bhatt. That's been my co-host, Roshan Bhatt. Thanks, Rosh, for joining me.
Yes, sir. Of course. Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, man. As always, you number one podcast listeners, we thank you so much for tuning in, and the shares and the likes and the referrals. So if you're one of those not trying to post to social media, send a carrier pigeon. Let a friend know about us.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, postcards, something. And we will talk to you next time.
Yes, sir.